A quorum being present, I announce this meeting to commence, or whatever. All right. Let's go. No approval of minutes. I'll go to agenda item A, enforcement order. PEPDE Corporation, 600 Woburn Street, assessors map 3, lot 82. Is there anybody here for that?
Yes, Paul Management.
Could you just introduce yourself again
Yes.
for the record?
Paul DiMaggio. That's loud. And I got some handouts. I only have 3 because they hydroseeded today, and we just whipped them together.
Yeah, I'll look at it.
You probably want to start off, but just that first picture was on 26th of July, I think it was the 26th of July. And that was all pokeweed and poison ivy. Interesting. Looked good. I hope the guys wore blue jeans and long sleeves. I'm sure they did. And then I think the second picture, I didn't even have a copy in order. Second page was 9/6, was yesterday before hydroseeding, and they hydroseeded today. I lucked out. And I thank you for the chance to delay it a month or maybe 2, because the conditions this summer would have been terrible.
Yeah.
And I think the timing is good. In the back is his plan, and I can't say that I can identify the plants themselves, but it looks like they're in the positions that were intended, and it looks like he tapered it so that it gets higher as it goes back towards the woods. Then, of course, the front's been hydroseeded.
All right.
And we also put I think the pictures of the posts are there. Those are signs slightly larger. You said it was okay to try it, slightly larger than yours, but I think the same pattern.
Yeah, I mean, doing a quick review, they seem to capture everything.
Yeah, I didn't put your telephone number on it.
Thanks.
I'm sure Joe appreciates that.
It was Joe's number, not ours.
Was
It's
it
his personal number.
His personal, correct.
That was a mistake.
So, yeah, I think that looks good, and I can go out and do an inspection once all the seeding in between the shrubs and trees is complete, so. But so far, it looks good.
Yeah, the board appreciates your cooperation on this matter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
let me ask-
Proactive.
Yeah, let me ask Joe, seeding between them, I don't know that he was going to seed between the bushes. Is he supposed to?
You
Is
can
that what
either you can either seed or see if it grows in naturally. It seemed like it did prior to you clearing the area, so I guess I just meant inspecting it once.
Well, I mean, we can lay seed down, or we can lay wildflower seed, which I got earlier.
Right.
Which I think would look pretty, but I don't know that much about conservation to know if, I mean, the wildflower seeds don't have any weeds for this area, noxious weeds. But yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks a little barren to me, but I've seen it in Maine at an airport after they did a reclamation, and I was really surprised at how poorly it looked, and yet a few years later, you don't even know it.
Yeah. So yeah, I haven't been out to the site since this activity has occurred, so I'll do an inspection and then we can take it from there.
Okay. Yeah, and we hope, in reality, to be in front, and I was advised, don't bring any pictures yet today, Paul, but they also hydroseeded the back detention pond or retention pond. They haven't finished inside because there's still some water in it from the other day. But we hope to get you guys out, or I'm not sure what we do for a final inspection for occupancy of the facility. It's almost done.
Okay.
It should be this month, I hope.
Alrighty, that sounds good.
Cool. So is there a timeline in which you'd want to go out there? We can,
Yeah, I can either try to go out there prior to the next Conservation Commission meeting or the first meeting in October, just to provide an update of see how it grows in between the shrubs and the trees.
whatever time that will allow enough growth
Yeah.
to actually be seen, if it just went down.
Does it grow some in October through mid-November or early November? Is that still growing?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if you want me to come back in November, glad to do it, see how it looks, and, I mean, Joe can let me know, or you probably want to come back in the spring, I would think, end of the spring, or in the
Yeah,
spring.
I can at least provide another update
All right.
within a month or two. Like,
Whatever.
All right.
Is that it?
Yep, I think that's it, unless the,
Have no
commission
questions.
has
Everything
any
was good.
questions.
No
or
questions.
comments?
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
I leave with my fingers and toes in place.
And
Thanks a
again,
lot.
we appreciate how helpful and understanding you've been through this
And
entire process.
Likewise, it was a mistake that should never have been made.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, agenda item B, public hearing. Request for determination of applicability, Gino Impemba, 10 Star Avenue, Assessors Map 88, Lot 3. Is there anybody here for that? Could you state your name for the record?
Gino Impemba.
Do you have anything to present to us?
Basically, I'm just looking to reinstall a pool that was standing for about 23 years. I've had to reposition it based on advice from Mr. Fontaine, and we're looking for a variance from a wetland area.
Do you have anything to comment
Yeah.
on?
So this is a application to replace an existing above-ground pool.
Correct.
I did the inspection. The existing above-ground pool was 17 feet away from the wetland. Files didn't indicate that there was previously a permit that allowed that to occur. So I think what is being proposed is that the pool is about 30 feet away from the wetland edge. The wetland edge is approximately where maintained lawn transitions into just natural vegetation. So that is all for me.
My only question really is, photo 2 shows the old pool kind of up against the woods. Has that all been cleaned up and stuff?
Well, it's been taken down, and yeah, the structure has been taken down. I'm just waiting to landscape after we put up the new one, if we get approval.
All right. Any questions from the commission?
Joe, I just have one question for you. Is there a shed literally in the wetland? I mean, your field notes kind of depicted, as well as the mass mapper overview, kind of shows a shed in the wetlands.
Yeah, it's at the shed kind of is along the boundary.
So it's not in the wetlands as depicted, or?
I think it's probably been there long enough where the wetland boundary kind of just conforms to the shed structure.
So in your sketch, Joe, the shed is essentially on the perimeter of the wetlands?
So that's essentially like picture 4 in the photo log. Does that show those 2 sheds that you're depicting in the sketch?
Yeah, so so based off the sketch, the rightmost shed is a little bit separated from the wetland edge. And the shed in the middle of the sketch, like I said, the wetland boundary kind of conforms to its location.
So you think the wetlands just encroach to where the shed is, or?
I don't know if it encroached or that historically that shed was there and
It's beyond our,
yeah.
okay.
The only other thing is that this would be a pool in the no-build zone, which would either, we would have to apply the 10% rule under the bylaw or allow for the waiver for just the shape and topography of the applicant's property.
I mean, you said you've had a pool there for 30 years,
23 years.
23 years.
In the original location, yes.
But who's counting? Right,
Yeah.
right.
All right, this is a public hearing, so I'll open it up to the public if anybody has any questions or comments. Not seeing anybody, I will take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right, could I have a negative determination of applicability for Gino and Pemba, 10 Star Avenue, Assessors Map 88, Lot 3, as discussed at this meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for,
We have to sign stuff, and then Joe will, coordinate with you.
okay. When do we do that? Tonight, or?
No, so within,
During
so
the
the
week?
commission, the commission just approved of the project. The permit gets issued 2 to 3 business days following this meeting.
Okay, so sometime next week.
Sure.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
All right, this next one is being continued. Could I have a motion to continue the request for determination of applicability, Tewksbury Department of Public Works, properties along Assel Street, Old Boston Road, East Street, Livingston Street, and North Street?
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well.
Mr. Chairman, since a number of people in the audience, could we get to the continuances so somebody's not sitting here waiting?
Yes, that's a good idea. So skip to agenda item G, public hearing, notice of intent. Karen Skinner Catroni on behalf of homeowners, 765 Whipple Road, Assessors Map 31, Lot 57, DEP file number 305-1161. Could I have a motion to continue that to the next hearing?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes.
It was in a second, but that's fine.
Oh,
Put me out of a job.
do I have a motion to that effect? I'll restart.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you. And agenda item I, this is a public hearing, abbreviated notice of resource area delineation. Bales Associates, Inc., on behalf of Holton Bugby Company, 1600 Shawshene Street, Assessors Map 112, Lot 4, DEP file number 305-1161. Do I have a motion to continue that to the next meeting? Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right, so if you just heard any of those, be here in 2 weeks. All right, going back to agenda item D, public hearing, request for determination of applicability. George Pusey, 34 Long Meadow Road, Assessors Map 26, Lot 33. Is there anybody here for that? Could you please introduce yourself for the record?
Yeah, George Pucci.
Do you have anything you'd like to present to us?
No, all my paperwork I gave to Joe earlier, and then it went to the state over in Wilmington.
Joe, do you have anything?
Sure. So the applicant's proposing an above-ground pool, about, at its closest, it looks like 11 feet away from the 25-foot no disturb zone, so 36 feet away from the actual wetland boundary line. So again, this is kind of similar to the last project where it's within the no-build zone, so it's either requires a waiver under the 10% rule within the bylaw or just a waiver owing to the shape and topography of the applicant's property that would impose a severe economic hardship. So that is that. Also, just for the commission, just so that they're aware, I think as the, so as a photo log shows, there was a sandbox constructed, part of which is within the 25-foot no disturb zone. So I just thought I would mention that as part of this RDA. But the RDA is just for the pool. And if the commission were to issue a negative determination of applicability, just because this would be a new pool, installing and maintaining erosion and sediment controls, which shall include of properly entrenched silt fence and/or straw wattles around the area of construction, as to prevent the deposition of sediment from construction activities into nearby wetland resource areas. Erosion and sediment control shall remain in place until all areas of disturbed loose soil and other erodible materials have been stabilized at the site. And prior to any construction activity commencing, installing those erosion and sediment controls and coordinating with myself to conduct an inspection and approving of the erosion and sediment control installation. In addition, pool water shall never be discharged into the nearby wetlands.
Any questions or comments from the commission?
So I know it's a separate item as you brought up, but can we have them remove all the bricks and debris as part of this RDA,
Oh,
even though it's completely separate as an order condition?
So yeah, so the commission's aware, so photo 3, which I failed to mention originally, is also just a pile of bricks and debris within the property. So that's kind of on the wetland boundary. Again, that's kind of a situation where it's been there long enough where the wetlands have kind of like conformed to its location. So as far as incorporating it into the RDA, it's up to the commission and to the applicant of whether they would want that to happen. If it's not, then it can certainly be under, like a violation notice if it were to.
Do you have any idea how,
It was put, as far as that, when we bought the house, it was already there. That was going on 4 years. It was done when they gutted the entire house and redid it. And I guess they just used some of that stuff for, they just used that area for dump.
I also see a sump pump discharge. Looks like it's very close to the prospective pool here. Is this going to interfere at all?
No.
This
No, I
is-
had moved that over
Yeah.
to the side, yeah.
Yeah, so as it's, is it shown? Yeah, so the sump pump, as shown in the sketch, if that's what you're referring to. So that's, it's not discharging directly into the wetland. It is discharging at least 20 feet away from
Okay.
the wetlands.
and so the existing sandbox, that's essentially overlapping where you would like to put the pool?
The pool will go on part of that. It's just before it, because it's going to be a round one, so it's back a little. But I'm hoping to be able to get rid of that sand if they put the pool, if I get the thing, they can use that for leveling it and stuff and putting it underneath.
All right.
So I would be in favor of putting the removal of the bricks and debris as part of this RDA, and if not, doing a violation
Bricks
notice.
and debris in the wetland or on his property? Is it in the 50-foot no?
I was going to say, is on the RDA application, the lot line boundary, he owns the parts of the wetland, so I can't see how that's not on his property.
But are the bricks in the wetlands, is my question, because.
Yes.
They are in the wetlands.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I would say, because if they were out of the wetlands, I would say no, because you're allowed to build retaining walls, and it's brick, so it's not straight, but
Yes.
it's there.
So the debris is in the wetlands, according to your determination, Joe?
If the bricks weren't there, the wetland would be flagged in its location.
Okay.
And you said that the wetland is overtaking the bricks?
It's just a pile of bricks, so if you were to go out and flag it, you would flag around it because
It's
a
restricting
mound.
it.
Yeah,
Right.
so it's,
Okay.
But if you
I'm-
removed
I'm with
it-
Evan. I think we include it.
Yeah, I mean, bricks are similar to naturally occurring rocks and stone, but it's, you know,
It could be other building material.
Yeah.
'cause,
It's
I mean, that's
man-made,
where it
right.
came from.
yeah, I think a lot of people think like, oh, it's just.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't put them there.
Yeah, and not accusing you or
Yeah.
anything like that, but they really should be removed. So I think I'm also in favor of part of this being, you know, clearing as much as possible of that stuff out, just so we don't contaminate the wetlands any further than we already have. Any,
The sandbox, is there something you guys wanted to include, or is that going to be removed?
Yeah, that's gonna be removed, yeah.
all right.
So no special condition for that, or?
No, it's sand, too.
Okay.
No.
Just
Besides generally, you know, removing the sand, I think that's the only condition.
Okay.
And like you said, unless anybody has a problem with him reusing that sand,
That's what I figured it was.
yeah, like,
Right, it's cheaper.
that's what
right.
you normally do anyways when building a pool, right? Like, is you have to level
Above
it
ground,
off. and-
yep.
All right, so yeah,
So I'll leave that out.
yeah,
Okay.
all right. Any other questions before I open this up to the public?
If not,
I have none.
All right, this is a public hearing. Anybody in the public who wants to ask a question or comment on this is free to do so at this time, but not seeing anybody. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
so moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And could I have a motion for a negative determination of applicability for George Pucci, 34 Long Meadow Road, Assessors Map 26, Lot 33, as discussed at this meeting?
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Okay, so,
Similar, you'll get, we'll sign it, you'll get the information from Joe in the next few
Okay.
days.
all right, cool, thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right. Agenda item E, public hearing, request for determination of applicability, Joanne Veloso, 70 Georgia Road, Assessors Map 81, Lot 120. Is there anybody here for that?
Hello.
Could you introduce yourself for the record?
Joanne Veloso, 70 Georgia Road, Tewksbury.
Do you have anything you'd like to present?
I have submitted everything.
Joe, could you fill us
Sure.
in on this?
So this is an application to replace an underground gas tank for a residential home used for heating. In addition to installing a pool pump for an above-ground pool, so that entails some trenching for installing some underground electrical conduit from the pump to the house, I presume. So the applicant has provided a site plan as far as, you know, showing where erosion and sediment controls are going to be located, the potential locations for the pool pump, and the trenching for the underground gas tank line and for where the tank is located. So if you recall, the applicant was before the commission recently for the construction of an in-ground pool, so they will also be using some of the erosion and sediment controls that are already in place for that project, but just extending it a little bit more towards Georgia Road to account for the work near the underground storage or underground gas tank. The underground gas tank is greater than 50 feet away. I believe it's being installed in its existing location.
It's being moved like 5 feet closer to the road,
Okay,
but not closer to the wetlands.
sure. I believe the pump location is seemingly within 50 feet, but not within the 25-foot no disturb zone as the site plan shows.
Joe, just looking at the site plan real quick, are there 3 pumps being installed, or is it just 1? Or
Those are potential locations,
Yeah, just
correct?
potential locations.
So we're looking at the one that's 10 feet off the proposed tank location?
That is correct.
Okay.
That would be my first choice.
Let's see. So with that being said, if the commission were to issue a negative determination of applicability, the following conditions can apply. Installing and maintaining erosion and sediment controls, which shall include if a properly entrenched silt fence and/or staked straw wattles around the area of construction as to prevent the deposition of sediment from construction activities into nearby wetland resource areas. Erosion and sediment controls shall remain in place until all areas of disturbed loose soil and other erodible materials have been stabilized at the site. Prior to any construction activity commencing, installing the erosion and sediment controls, as per my previous comment, and then coordinating with me to do the inspection.
Okay, they were installed yesterday.
Perfect.
Is this home on town sewer or septic?
We're on sewer.
Okay. That's all I have.
yeah, no question.
No questions?
All right, this is a public hearing. If there's anybody from the public who would like to get up and speak, not seeing anybody, could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
As well. And could I have a motion for a negative determination of applicability, Joanne Velozzo, 70 Georgia Road, Assessors Map 81, Lot 120, as discussed at this meeting?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Talk to you soon.
Is everybody getting a pool these days?
Yes, so.
I thought it was going to be the opposite, the beginning of the summer that people would want pools.
Or maybe now there's some at discount.
All right, agenda item F, public hearing, request for determination of applicability. Ronald Hebert, 40 Roper Lane, Assessors Map 63, Lot 25. Is there anybody here for that? Could you please introduce yourself for the record?
Okay, we have, or we had
Could you
an
just
existing.
introduce yourself for the record?
Okay, I'm Ronald Hebert.
Thank you.
I live at 40 Roper Lane. And we want to replace a pool that we had there. We took it down this summer, and we want to replace it with a new one.
Joe, is there anything
Yeah.
that should be said about this one?
So, like the applicant said, this is a project proposing to replace an existing above-ground pool. The above-ground pool is, I believe, 45 to like 48 feet away from a nearby wetland. There was no previous permit for the above-ground pool from conservation, so the wetland is also up gradient from where the pool is located, so it's kind of just a technicality in the regulations that triggers this to still require an RDA because it's within 50 feet. So if the commission were to issue a negative determination of applicability for this project, the commission may do so based on the following potential conditions. There really isn't a need for erosion and sediment controls, in my opinion, since the wetlands are up gradient and the base of the pool is already existing, so I don't believe there's any earthwork of any kind occurring. So it's essentially just whether the commission would like to issue a negative determination or not. But part of it is located within the no-build zone, but based off of just aerial imagery, it looks like it's up to 10% of the property. So that's in compliance with our bylaw. So the commission would just have to agree on that term of the 10% rule and just whether it's a negative determination or not.
the pool already existed, you've had a
Yeah,
pool before.
the original pool's been there for 43 years,
Yeah.
actually, a long time. And it kind of let go this summer, so we decided rather than having somebody get hurt, or we took it down, purchased a new pool, and we found that we needed to get a permit to do that, so here we are.
I'd also just suggest to include within the permit that pool water shall never be discharged into nearby wetlands.
Yeah, I think we should have specified that with the last few applicants. With that, because the pool is lower than the wetlands, I think it should also be noted, don't direct any discharge out into the street, into the stormwater. It has
Not
to
at all.
go into the yard and stuff.
Yeah.
So, anybody else have any questions or comments?
No?
I have none.
All right. This is a public hearing, so I'll once again open it up to the public, but not seeing anybody. Could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And could I have a motion for a negative determination of applicability? Ronald Hebert, 40 Roper Lane, Assessors Map 63, Lot 25, as discussed at this meeting.
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You'll call us when you have the papers to sign or whatever we need to do?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to agenda item H, public hearing, notice of intent, Goddard Consulting LLC on behalf of Rhino Capital Advisors, LLC, 30 Commerce Way, Assessors Map 23, Lot 18 and 19, PP file number 305-1162. Could you please introduce yourselves for the record?
Yeah, this is Tyler Murphy, Rhino Capital. I'm the project applicant. Scott Goddard, Goddard Consulting, Wetlands Consulting.
You.
And then we're just going to be using the projector. So just gonna make it.
We might have,
We'll see if it works.
yeah.
Yeah, I shot them an email.
He's on his way.
Right.
I was told about it, but I forgot to do it.
Should also move these flags if this works.
Give it like a minute or two, it should pop right up.
Okay. And this is the right HDMI? This red one?
Should be.
Okay.
You gotta change it up, so I don't know which one's right. I think it's right.
All right, fair enough. We'll give it a go. While that's loading, I can start.
Sure.
No, I think that's fine.
So we submitted a new package today and digitally, so hopefully you received that. There's not a lot of new information in here. I mean, substance-wise, there's a big package there, but nothing's substantively changed since the last project. We're looking at the same project, the same design. There's been a few modifications that we can talk through tonight, so that they're getting a submittal on the day of shouldn't be too overwhelming. One, we enclosed a written response to, Joe, your 15 comments. There was a request from you about certain items. So we just gave a bullet point outline of those. Most of it was plan changes and we need to do water plan, things like that. And, so the details of it we can talk through tonight if we'd like to do that. We also included an updated wetland replication plan. The purpose of the updated replication plan was to sort of adjust the numbers and the figures to match the revisions that were made to the wetland delineation as a result of the peer review. We have, because we're not live in the area.
I have it in projection mode, but wanted to give it a minute.
Okay.
If it takes longer than a minute, we may want to switch over your computer, but
Okay.
I'm sort of live on my end.
We did an
So-
updated stream. Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, but just for the commission, There was a email sent to me earlier today, but I was out of the office today, so I was unable to print off those documents.
Yeah,
Not a problem. We'll just talk through it a little bit.
yeah.
Sure.
We submitted an updated stream replication plan, relocation plan, same reasons. Nothing substantive has changed about any of these plans. It's just that we did have a peer review of the wetland delineation. There were a couple of tweaks. We wanted to make sure all the documents lined up with one another. We included a graphic to show where there would be wetland signage around the perimeter of the project. That was a request made. So we have a graphic showing where those signs would be located. We have a dewatering plan to show where and how we would be able to dewater if that's being necessary. And then the updated site plan. The biggest item on the updated site plan really was there were two little small isolated wetlands far off to the side, kind of straddling the lot line or just kind of barely in the site, that we located as part of the peer review process. And so those are reflected on the site plan with, and those will give buffer zones so you can see how those lay out. So all those items were included in our submittal package that you received today. Since we don't have the graphics, I can talk through them a little bit more if you'd like to.
Let me give this a go on your computer, because it's somewhat important to have these.
He's on the phone with somebody right now, so he might be
Okay.
figuring out an issue if you just want to.
Can't take a try. Other computer.
Yeah.
And then, Joe, as you mentioned, given that you just received the package today, we're certainly not expecting a vote of any kind, but we thought that the presentation would help the review, make it a lot easier, and then also if there are any other comments or questions, we could be working to address them in the meantime after this.
I guess before you give the presentation, like the last notes that we have, there were still comments outstanding from the Town of Tewksbury Engineering Division, as well as Mass DEP had a comment. Were those addressed, or are those still outstanding?
Yeah, so so that's been going back and forth kind of more on the planning board side, but I did definitely have it in here. Essentially, there was a round of comments, those got responded to, we got comments back, those got responded to and submitted last week. So obviously, as you've seen in practice, these lists sort of dwindle, they go from something like 20, we're down to 5, those got responded to, and now we're just waiting on confirmation that everything's been taken care of. And we do, hope and feel at this time they have, but we have not received that official confirmation from the town engineer. But the list is definitely a fraction of what it was last time we were here.
Which one was the DEP comment? Can you remind me?
Stream bank calculation, I think.
Oh, the stream bank calculations. We updated, so all the numbers are updated on the plans reflecting the proper calculation of stream bank impacts. Joe, you had 15 comments is what I have on my notes, and I can talk through those real briefly if that would be helpful. If you'd rather, not, it's really just, I'll just rattle through them real quick while the computer's booting up anyways. Your comment number one was a request for the dates of vernal pool investigations, and methodologies. So we included the dates that was done, dip netting, polarized glasses, how we would examine for egg masses and such. That was all that's listed in there. We have a date of April. We have other dates of observation in June and July. Number two was the request for the dewatering protocol that's submitted. Number three was prioritizing the wetland replication area in terms of sequencing. And certainly we think that's appropriate. That early on in the first 3 months of the work, I think it's appropriate to front load the wetland replication plan. That's in the wetland replication protocol documents, but it can also be conditioned as a special condition with the commission. Number four was requesting an as-built of the replication area within 30 days of completion. Not a problem, certainly that's appropriate for sure. Number five was more detail on that, wanting grading, plantings, stream bottom elevations, all that good stuff. Certainly that would be part of it. So all in agreement on all these points. Number six was about discharge pipes along the eastern embankment and discharges surrounding riprap. So we have proposed that there's a soil stabilization and seeding that takes place along those.
Can you just give us 1 second?
Sorry, guys, I didn't mean to cut you off. So I'm on the phone with Jason. just so you know, he's having me troubleshoot and reboot the system, for you guys, so we're in the middle of just trying to make this pop up for you.
Appreciate it.
it.
Thank you.
There was number 7 was a request for some erosion barriers. That was, we basically said that we thought that certain types of erosion control should be specified as a special condition, but your request of silt fence and 12-inch compost filter is certainly appropriate. There's no problems there whatsoever. Number 8 was more comments on erosion controls and along the slope embankments. So we specified that we do have the right kind of hay bales and trenching along the toe of that embankment, and hydro seeding immediately after grading was proposed. There's a SWIP that will go along with this project, and monthly SWIP reports should be submitted to the commission as part of the duration. I think we'll deal with all of these items. Silt sacks was request number 10. That will be proposed in all of the drainage outlets. Number 11 was securing stockpiles. So those are proposed to be secured, covered. They can be surrounded by hay bales. That's not a problem, especially during rain events. Number 12 was producing a plan showing signage, which we included in this package. There's a series of signs along the perimeter of the project that you'll be able to see. Number 13 was a request to outline how the NOI meets bank performance standards. So we did outline the bank performance standards: physical stability, water carrying capacity, groundwater surface water quality. Basically, the impacted area of the bank, of course, will be impacted during the construction. But these are heavily deteriorated banks, as we looked at in the pictures last time. They're all overgrown with invasives. It's basically an outlet structure to a detention pond with a lot of trash and such in there. So there'll be a temporary alteration, but the capacity, cross-sectional areas, side slopes, the ability to convey the water will mirror existing conditions. We have improved planting regimens to improve wildlife habitat, and under the requirement for wildlife habitat standards for banks, we did include a full bank wildlife habitat analysis. It's more or less just checking boxes in this particular case because it's a man-made, highly altered bank situation. It's not offering a lot currently in terms of wildlife habitat, but we did include that under 310 CMR 1060 in the submittal package. There was a question about land under water body. So land under water body is a funny one. Land under water body is intended to be water that's under regulatorily, water that's under the ground underneath permanent water. So usually it's under the mean low water of a pond or the mean low water of a stream or river. Any luck?
So, he asked if we could try your computer. if
Oh,
possible.
sure.
We don't know what's going on, even the reboot didn't work, so.
Okay, and I restarted my computer just in case, but
This will be the
I gave it a flick around there.
this will be the Macs versus PC battle. We'll see who wins.
Oh, you won. There we go.
Chalk up one for the
Oh,
Apple.
man. In presentation mode, and then I'll switch back through there. Yep. All right. Did you get through number 15?
No, but it was just, it was,
Yeah.
the remaining comments were simply just make sure the plans are updated, showing the changes, and everything correlates. That's pretty much
Yeah.
it. So, again, I know it sounds like we've submitted a lot because there was a lot in the package, but these were like all little details in a sense that just made all the documents correspond with one another. That's really where we're at with this. So I think we're clean, I think we're clear on everything that was requested. I don't see any outstanding points of contention between your peer reviewer and us, or within the comments that Joe had submitted or that came up at the last meeting. So we're trying to advance this along.
And luckily, none of those were in this, so it's not going to be duplicative. So this is just the image that you saw from last time, the rendering that we have of the warehouse. Obviously, myself and Scott, we introduced ourselves. And then just the quick agenda I'm gonna try to breeze through here and not go back to things we've already seen. But just because it has been a couple months as we've been here, just give you the existing site conditions proposed. The project updates will be sort of the new items we'll be looking at today. Anything to the east are things that the Conservation Commission has already seen, largely in part. West will be what's new, those isolated wetlands that Scott mentioned that the peer reviewer picked up. Direct impacts, largely the same. Mitigation, largely the same. Stormwater management's the same. Planting the same. And then finally, the slope planting plan is new. And that was in result of comments from the town engineer about peak runoff. We'll get to that. So again, a 12-acre site, industrially zoned, stockpiles of debris and trash, and just sort of some existing disturbance. It's behind the existing 30 Commerce building that you're looking at, and the parcels there are highlighted in yellow. Proposed site conditions, the only change that we've made here, this is the kind of green colorized version, is you see that sort of gravel path, which is supposed to be at the top left, which is the maintenance corridor for the basin there. That's essentially been shrunk, and we will show that in a later drawing, but I wanted to stick with the green colorized plan because when it goes to black and white, it's a little difficult to understand what's happening. But that's the only plan change. Everything else, the building's in the same location, pavement, driveways, etc. So, as Scott was alluding to, what's new. So the peer review and field caused a slight adjustment to the wetland flags plan east. It didn't impact the project because the changes were so minor. The buffer zone impacts, it didn't change anything. The entire project, with the exception of the direct impact of the entry driveway, remains out of the 25-foot no disturb zone. The response to comments and questions from Joe, we just reviewed. There were minor adjustments to square and linear foot calcs throughout the reports. And then we have the slope planting plan, which is a new item in response to stormwater comments. So as Scott mentioned, there was some trash and debris and kind of talking about the bank. So here are some actual field pictures of invasives and sort of what that bank area impact currently looks like. This is more a close-up view of what area that we're talking about. So when I talk about Plan East, this is just sort of the right side of the plan. And you can see the wetland area that we're staying out of with our plan, except for the one part where we intersect it, and that's on the left. That's that entry drive, and it's just sort of a situation where there's just frankly nowhere else to put it, given the grades. And again, this is the same thing from last time. Do you want to note the flag changes out here at all in the east? I mean, they didn't really result in anything.
No, there were just a couple of flags were eliminated along that slope. We agreed in the field,
Yeah.
and this plan has reflected that. So just minor tweaks, nothing of substance.
Yeah, it was really just actual individual flags in the overall line and boundaries and buffer zones that didn't have any impact to the project. Getting to the west, so these are the new ones. So this is new in the sense that they were not previously on the plan. So when the peer reviewer walked, they picked at these areas. What you're looking at, that dark border, the wetlands which mostly lie in there, that's the residential zone. That is someone's rear backyard. And we just want to provide a picture of one of them just to show that sort of newer plastic outlet pipe. So it is possible that this isolated wetland was naturally occurring, but it's definitely being impacted by someone's rear yard and drainage being purposely directed into it. We just thought it was worth noting. But what we did is, you can see on this plan, this close-up here, where I showed again that more elongated gravel path for the basin maintenance. You can now see it's very small, and it's sort of that little kind of hook U. Again, that's a pervious surface, that's gravel. And the reason we changed that is because we want the entire project to remain out of the 25-foot no disturb zone, and that longer style path, because of these isolated wetlands being added to the plan, did have an impact. So we've made a plan adjustment to essentially keep, again, all project and disturbance out of that 25-foot zone. And then Scott, I'll let you take over here, but this hasn't changed.
Yeah, so this is what we looked at before. The light blue is where the current stream channel is flowing. In this case, it's flowing from the bottom of the page to the north of the page or up to the right. And that's the discharge from the stormwater basin. That's proposed to be relocated to where the dark blue line is, with plantings along the edge. So, and then we have a slope as well that will be seeded heading down to it, where it shows they're grading down from 126 to 118. These are the same wetland replication plans that were submitted last time, only that the graphics are updated with, so that everything's consistent with revisions to the wetland delineation. But we're proposing a substantial more amount of new wetlands on the site than is being altered. You wanted to comment on
Yeah, and I can talk about stormwater. So nothing in terms of stormwater management and how it functions has changed. We've had some engineering comments, minor things about invert heights and things of that nature that we've gone back and forth with the town engineer on. Like I said, that list is dwindling. But really, it's the basin in the rear and then 2 subsurface. And again, this is the same graphic and comments that we presented on last time. Here, the planting plan, again, I just wanted to call out, I like to use the green colorized ones because they're easier to understand than the black and white. But again, it's the exact same plan. The only change is, again, you can see the elongated one that was previously shown has now transitioned into that sort of smaller hook to access the basin. And what that did is besides staying out of the 25 foot of the isolated wetlands, it also creates this 30-foot no disturb landscape buffer. That's not necessarily a zoning requirement, but it's a nice feature that, there's at least 30 feet of no disturb landscape, and then there's additional landscaping beyond that, which even increases the size of the landscape buffer zone with the residential area. This plan is new. So it's a reforestation plant mix, and this is basically helping us with slope stabilization, and most importantly, it helps keep the pre and post conditions for peak runoff rates the same. So essentially that was a request of the town engineer, and the really only way to achieve that when you have a new slope like that is to essentially reforest it. And so that's what you're seeing there in sort of that pale orange color. And if we were on the plan detail, which was submitted to you, you'd be able to see what those individual sort of circles or shapes consist of in more detail, and that is shown on the new plan set that was submitted. But that's the reason. So essentially there's a lot more plants on the site than there was before, but this isn't formal landscaping that would be maintained. This would allow to renaturalize. And that's it. I'm happy to go back through any slides and answer any questions.
Yeah, that all sounds good to me. I'll put something up that's better to look at.
Sure.
All right, does anybody have any questions or comments?
Not at this moment. I'm sure when we get the packet, we're gonna read it, and then we might have some more questions, but just going through what you just did, it's kind of hard to come up with questions. Yeah?
No doubt, no doubt.
Joe, do you have anything?
Sure. So, engineering department, who does the review of the stormwater compliance, obviously, as you guys have mentioned, hasn't provided their blessing on ensuring that this project complies with the stormwater standards, which would, at least in part, be under the commission's jurisdiction. The third part, so, part of this project was bringing in a third party for peer review. I've been out for a few days, but I'm pretty confident that he hasn't sent me any confirmation back, especially if the new plans are just being submitted, as far as, confirming that the plan accurately shows where the flags are.
So is that something that you will forward off to him, or would you like?
Yeah, no, I can forward it off, but
Sure thing.
that would just be, a reason as to why the commission wouldn't be able to approve, obviously,
Understood.
tonight.
Yeah, for sure.
So, as part of the peer review, the third party had identified a potential vernal pool. So was there additional work that was done as far as, obviously it was flagged, but was there any, is it being treated as a vernal pool with a 200-foot buffer zone?
There's 2 puddled areas that are just off-site that we looked at, right? Those 2 isolated features. Let me see that. These guys right here. Right, so when you look at the photograph right there, you can see it's obviously dry, and it was dry at the time we looked at it as well. So this is a depressional area. It clearly would hold some degree of water in the springtime. You can't make an evaluation really for obligatory vertical species outside of the season. This wasn't observed in the springtime like the area on the other side was. So there's no confirmation one way or the other. All we can do is look at the conditions that are out there and say, maybe there's some breeding habitat for amphibians and whatnot in the springtime. That's kind of the best that we can,
Sure.
we can do with that at this point in time.
I mean, and these essentially sit in people's rear yards. I mean, there's, manicured grass more or less up to the edge of them, which again, wouldn't mean that vernal pool species couldn't live in them, but just to give some more context so it's not just black and white on a plan.
And these are certainly small, it's too small to be regulated under any state law. They're not isolated land subject to flooding. So insofar as there's any buffer zones attributed to these at all, it would be insofar as the Tewksbury Wetlands bylaw would apply to them. Right? So under the WPA, these would be unregulated.
Yeah, that's right.
Depressions.
We did check the square footages on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So even combined, they're well under 5,000.
Well, it's not just the 5,000 square feet,
Yeah.
it's a volumetric
Yeah, yes,
calculation,
yeah.
quarter acre foot of water, so we don't have the capacity, they're too small to support that, for sure.
Okay.
So it's really a Tewksbury bylaw thing, and that's why we slapped some buffer zones on there for discussion purposes. And that's what those buffer zone lines are, looking at there.
Okay. But this is still proposing to go up to the 25-foot notice air zone, is that correct?
Yeah.
This is to see the sort of cloud-edged
Yeah,
limit of work, that would be the limit of work. So
Okay.
no work would be within the 25-foot, but up to it in part.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then the construction is that little hook is gravel, and that hatched is pavement. So the paved area, where you would, if you were there looking at this project being built in person, you'd kind of look at the paved area, and then you'd see grass next to it. That's outside the 50. So keeping the limit of work outside the 25, and then the final construction or end product would be outside the 50.
Okay. And as far as the pipe, I can investigate that, see what that's about. And I like the slope planting plan. So is that further detailed within the package that was submitted as far as okay.
Yeah, they call it quantities of plants, types of plants, that sort of thing. It's just too small
Yeah.
to get up on this.
I like it. Other than that, I don't have any other comments. I'll have to review the package. But for right now, that's it.
No, like I said, we certainly understand that. The goal is for us is to get confirmation from the town engineer, certainly. I think hopefully the peer reviewer will also respond, and then any other questions and comments. Our goal is to try to wrap those up as quickly as possible and then be back in front of you in 2 weeks.
All right.
But certainly understand that there's things outstanding at this time.
All right, this is a public hearing, but I don't think anybody's going to get up. And we don't want to close that anyways. So unless anybody has any questions or comments, could I have a motion to continue this notice of intent for DEP file number 3051162 to the next meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Sorry for the wait on that one.
All right.
We have someone here for N, if we
Oh,
want to
all
just
right.
skip to the.
Thank you all.
Yeah. All right, we'll take agenda item N, violation notice, Andover North Estates LLC, 1563 Andover Street, map 39, lot 45, DEP file number 305-1077. Could you please introduce yourself for the record?
Hi, my name is Phil Brianzi. I'm the owner of Andover North Estates.
Great. Do you have anything you'd like to present to us?
Well, like I explained to Joe, the predecessor wanted to see some grass there, and it's just a misunderstanding. And when Joe talked to me, I told him I'd just put everything right back and close it right back up. No big deal. It's less money I have to spend. So, I mean, you know, one hand didn't know what the other hand was doing, so I just did what the predecessor, you know,
Things
told
like
me to
that
do.
happen.
The female you had before. I can't even remember her name.
Joe, do you have any questions or
Sure.
comments?
So I visited the site recently, end of August, I believe, August 29th, or, you know, plus or minus a few days. So as the photo logs show, there is an area of soil and stockpiles that appear to be on the property boundary. I don't know if they're actually in someone else's property, but just based off of landmarks of the rock wall, it kind of seems like it.
Yeah, there's a lot of rock walls there. You can't tell which way is up and which way is down over there, so.
So that's besides the fact, I suppose. So there's, going back there, you know, photo one shows where the violation occurred, subject to this discussion. There's wetlands back there, but if you look at the original site plans, it's not flagged. And I hope photo 5 kind of shows, you know, the wetland that I'm kind of talking about. It's like a linear depression, which looks like an extension of the wetlands that are already flagged on the site plans. You know, just looking at, you know, soils, hydrology, vegetation, it seemed like a wetland to me. And then looking at the extent of where the location of the violation occurred, you know, right on the toe of that slope where the violation occurred, there was hydric soil. So it was it looked like it was either the violation occurred like near a wetland boundary. So at the very least, I would definitely recommend, you know, removing whatever soil was there.
They already removed, Joe.
Okay.
Removed, the silt fence is up and the straw water's back.
Okay. And just leaving, so the other part of this is that the order of conditions involve the conservation agent approving of a restoration area of the 25-foot no disturb zone. And so that's part of the meeting packet. It's this piece of paper. There's an area highlighted in blue, which kind of goes in within the area of the violation notice. At that time, though, the wetlands that I identified while out on my site visit weren't flagged. So it's still up to the commission, according to the permit, potentially myself, to approve that.
So that's, as it stands, that's until they come back to close everything out. Like, we still have a lot of time before that happens. So, like, he's removed the soil, the violation seems, if you go back out and confirm, has been cleared up, but there's this other part of it that is part of the original order of conditions.
So there's another part of it where the violation seemed to have occurred beyond where the restoration was proposed, but where the violation occurred, there was some overlap of where the restoration should occur and where the violation occurred. So in part, it seems like clearing of at least part of that area was part of the restoration for some Japanese knotweed, I believe. So it's whether the commission is still, and this was all happened before my time, so I kind of just wanted to bring it to the commission's attention so they are also in a agreement as far as what should happen next. And so we're all on the same page and coming from the
Yeah,
commission.
I'm missing a little bit of this then, Joe. I don't know what you're talking about, really.
So part of the permit, as a condition of the permit, the conservation agent needed to approve of a restoration plan for the removal of the Japanese knotweed.
Yes, and
So-
we did that for her.
Already?
That was the beginning thing. We brought dumpsters in and dumpsters in and dumpsters in of that.
I believe there's still the
Yeah,
berm.
and it came back. We did exactly what she said. Matter of fact, we pulled up out of there, we pulled up railroad timbers, telephone poles, car parts when we did all that. You wouldn't name it. The body shop, or not, the mechanic shop that was there was dumping everything in there. And when we cleaned it up for her, because it was all good for her, you know, because, I mean, she wouldn't have let us go, and it all came back. All came back.
Did you submit an actual restoration plan?
I don't know. I bought this project, so I don't know whatever the people that I bought the project off.
There was a restoration plan submitted.
Yeah.
There was a restoration
Yeah,
plan?
and this
Yeah.
is what's included in the package.
All right.
And whatever Japanese knotweed, I think it was something like that, we pulled them all up, you know, and whatever trash she wanted us to take out, we did that already, and we put it in separate dumpsters, and the dumpsters, that was the only dumpsters that you couldn't put nothing else in the dumpsters but the knotweed. And then you send it off to the dumps wherever they wanted it, wherever she wanted it to go.
So just so I understand, the project was approved, everything was submitted and approved by prior administration almost.
Yes.
And now we're re-reviewing it and saying that there's issues even though everything was approved originally? It's just tough to say if a plan was submitted and approved by your predecessor, obviously you have a say, but
No,
he followed the rules besides the dirt pile, I think.
Right,
From my
and this is
understanding, I wasn't
what,
involved in the first, I
She-
did not sign this either.
she told us, after we did this, you know, to get a nice little, what are we gonna do? And I'm not a conservationist. I said, you tell me. She goes, I'd like to see grass. So, and like I explained to Joe, I was just doing what she said, and I thought you guys, she would have had something in the file, that what she said. So, and then when I told you, I said, I'll just put it back. It's less money I have to spend if I don't have to plant grass or do anything to it. It's no sweat off me. I mean, I'm just trying to comply whatever this other first person said, and then you come into the picture, and now you have a different picture. I mean, and I'm here to let you tell me what you want done. If you don't want nothing done, I leave it.
it's not that I have a different picture, it's just that I think there was, where the location of the violation occurred was not in accordance with the plan, because it looks like it's off property to begin
Well,
with.
I don't know if it's off property or not, but I'm in communications with the guy next door. And I mean, there's trees that separate the property line right there. And we're working together. I mean, we trimmed some trees for him. As a matter of fact, the corner tree that's right in the lot, right near the house right by Aroma Joe's, we're splitting the cost to take the tree down, even though I think it's more on his property, but trying to be a good neighbor. I'm not trying to, fight anybody here. I'm into, make some condos and then get out of town and get to my next project.
Sure.
So I'm not trying to fight anybody. I'm just, whatever you guys want, that's fine with me, because I'm not a conservationist.
Okay.
The only good grass is dead grass. You paint it green, it looks beautiful.
So my comment would be to know where your property boundary is, and then remove whatever soil was placed there that isn't in accordance with
It's already done,
the
Joe. It's
plan.
already-
And then just so the Conservation Commission's aware, again, like I said, at the toe of the slope where the soil was placed, there was hydric soil, wetland soil there. But it kind of looks like it's in a transitional state anyway, so it might just be more effective to
Yeah.
rake back the soil and see what comes up.
Because you can see, we put it over here, and right next to it, you still a bunch of rocks, and a bunch of the little green stuff is already there, so it's not like we did the whole area. I mean, because the guy has the machine to sift the dirt, you know, get the rocks out of it, and then he was gonna go further, but we stopped that the minute you said something.
So, yeah, it's on a slope a little bit, so I think if any encroached into a wetland, it's near the boundary.
All right.
So I think raking it back and seeing what, and allowing it to revegetate is fine.
All right. Any questions or comments?
So I can go out and see what you have done
I
so
won't be there
far.
tomorrow, Joe. I'm up in New Hampshire tomorrow.
I don't know if I'll be there tomorrow either, but
Don't come next week, because I'm in Aruba next week.
We're going.
Hey,
All right, we're all there, right?
well, I'm there for 2 weeks then.
so just so I'm clear, in case I get called out there again, do you?
Well, you know who calls. Matter of fact, we had a big fight with him. The corner house on the North Street in Andover, we're trying to evict him, and he comes on the property, and the police had told me to put no trespassing signs. But I happened to be coming around 12 o'clock, and there he is sneaking into conservation, and he's got Joe on speed dial, you know, and he's calling. So next thing you know, I'm telling him to get the F off my property because the police told me to put no trespassing on unauthorized people. Next thing you know, the cops come, and I said, listen, I'm not talking to nobody.
This might be getting a
yeah. You know, this is
our
right.
purview,
But like I was saying, in case I get called out there again, because I am still going to respond to
Yeah.
a complaint, and they have been valid so far. Like, is that rock, what does that rock wall represent?
I think
there?
that's the property line, to be truthful.
Okay,
I mean,
yes.
that's been there forever.
right. Yeah,
So, I mean-
that's where I'm saying, I think,
I mean, because
That's
that's
where the
where the
vi-
marks, that's where the marks were, the stakes.
yeah.
And Alex doesn't have a problem, my next door neighbor. Matter of fact, the town of Tewksbury couldn't get me my water meters to run off anything, so Alex and I worked out a deal where he's let me use his water to stop plastering the units. So like I said, we're on good terms, my neighbor.
So that's where I'm saying, like, now I have a reference as far as where potential clearing can be done according with the plan. Because obviously beyond that, you're placing soil where it wasn't permitted. So
If you want to meet in a couple of weeks, that's not a problem, Joe. You give me a call or I'll call you. These masks kill me. But I'm making sure I'm wearing it because I'm going away. I'm not getting caught.
All right, so, obviously not tomorrow, and it doesn't
Yeah, I'm in
sound
New
like next
Hampshire.
week,
I
but-
got some issues up in New Hampshire building.
Yeah, so you two can figure out a time that.
What I'll do is
you'll go and-
I'll write in here, call Joe when I come back. How's that? Does that sound good, Joe?
Sure.
Okay.
When will you be back?
26th, last week.
Could I do an inspection next week?
You can do it, yeah, you can.
Okay, yeah,
But
I'll
I won't be physically around.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll be in Lush Land.
That's fine. I can stop by sometime next week and see.
Yeah.
Maybe poke around in the soil, see if it's actually,
Yeah.
just making
But
sure.
I mean, I'm still by phone if you need to talk to me.
Yeah.
If you need anything, you just call me on the phone and I can have the guys, the guy that's doing all the yard work and all that.
Okay, I might just want to confirm that it's upland.
Yep, no big deal to me. I want to make everybody happy, Joe. You know that. I've told you that from the start.
You have been very compliant as far as with previous callings that I've had to go out there.
Now, how come this wasn't conservation land when the other guy was there?
I don't know.
He was dumping everything in that thing.
All right, it seems like we have a plan going forward, and we'll figure it out.
Yep.
In the meantime, have a
Yeah,
great
we
vacation.
don't really do much there because all that conservation land is not even in existence anymore. All the building, we're over towards the middle of North Street now anyway, so we're not even near conservation land anymore, so. Okay, guys? But Joe, we'll talk.
Thank you.
Have a good one, guys.
Have a good vacation.
I always.
All right, these next four are early DP file numbers. And before we actually begin, Joe, I'm assuming they're all related, but they'll have to be taken under separate
Yeah. So,
motions. Can you fill us in on
yes.
each of them, I guess?
So agenda item J, K, L, and M are all related to a property transaction. Actually, so let me pull up my notes here. So yeah, so all of these requests for certificate of compliance were triggered by a title search for a property transaction at 140 Prospect Hill Drive. So Prospect Hill Drive was part of a subdivision in circa 2005, 2006. So it was part of a larger parcel of land that was later developed in 2005, 2006. The actual subdivision was permitted under a separate order of conditions, which has since been closed out under a complete certificate of compliance issued in 2011. So the title search is bringing up old orders of conditions attached to the larger parcel of land in which the subdivision was part of. So that's kind of connected in land court, and hence why it comes up in a title search. So from what it seems like, these orders of condition, or if you just look at where Prospect Hill Drive is on that larger piece of land, it's based on the limited amount of information of the orders of conditions. It seems like the actual parcel of land that is 140 Prospect Hill Drive has little to no relationship with these orders of conditions. So with that being said, I guess we can go through each of them, and it would essentially be like a partial certificate of compliance.
Because you can't do the whole.
Because you can't do the whole, we can't actually say whether these orders of conditions were actually, done in compliance.
Have the as-bills for all this stuff been submitted?
No, there are none. But it is important to note that a similar thing was done for 207 Catamount Road, where I believe all 3 or 4 of these they were granted a partial certificate of compliance for a similar case.
I don't have any more issues.
All right, so,
So that was just we weren't talking about a specific one
Yeah.
yet, so.
all right, so request for certificate of compliance, Daniel and Patricia Fleming, 140 Prospect Hill Drive, Assessors Map 52, Lot 36, DEP file number 305-335. So this would be a partial certificate of compliance, but we don't have any information about this one.
So we don't know what we're
I think what it is contract comes in, builds subdivision, and these were part of that subdivision. Correct?
No. So it was a larger parcel of land. And back in the late 80s, early 90s, there were orders of conditions near the edge or maybe part of that parcel of land to execute some projects. They're managed under old orders of conditions. So fast forward to 2005, 2006, they want to develop the middle of that parcel, so undeveloped land entirely, and create Prospect Hill Drive under a separate order of conditions, which was already closed out under its own order or certificate of compliance. But because the subdivision was built into that same parcel of land, it is tied to these old orders of conditions, which seemingly have no relationship to the parcel of land, which is 140 Prospect Hill Drive. That makes sense? I know that's kind of a lot.
well, it's a boundary of that?
It's a small, 140 Prospect Hill Drive is a small part of a larger parcel of land. So it was built into a larger parcel of land.
Okay.
So they're obviously separate parcels now, but
So any as-built that might exist are under a separate DEP file number?
well, we don't know if there are as-bills for those old DEP file numbers. So essentially what a partial certificate of compliance is saying we don't know, we can't definitively say that though these old orders of conditions were actually done in compliance with the orders, but we can say that this parcel of land, which is 140 Prospect Hill Drive, likely had nothing to do with it, and we can give them a partial compliance, if that makes
All right,
sense.
because that, I think.
So
are
without
you
this,
worried
they-
because we don't have anything to actually review right now?
Well, that's my question is how do we give a certificate of compliance and we have no idea?
But the partial certificate of compliance would us be basically saying, we don't believe that these other projects affect this one,
Essentially.
essentially. All right.
So 140 is completely clear of its development and it's clean.
It's clean of the order of conditions that manage the actual
development.
construction of the development.
Okay.
So to me, that's the only pertinent order of conditions to that property as far as verifying compliance with
As far as
anything.
we're concerned, right.
Yeah. And to your point of there's nothing to review, there's nothing for the applicant to receive either. So it's kind of a
This is a conundrum, right.
It is because they're trying to, any title search is going to pull up these orders for any property on Prospect Hill Drive likely. So. it's-
So, yeah.
If we don't proceed with this, they can't transfer title.
It's a risk management thing for them. So if they want to take on that risk of doing the transaction with open order of conditions, I believe they can. I don't think there's anything that's stopping them, but a lot of attorneys will
buyer
say,
would-
yeah,
right,
yeah,
correct.
exactly.
Right, hence a title
Conditions
search.
will follow
Yeah,
the transaction.
it's going to follow the transaction.
Right, a title search is what drove this.
Correct.
If, will we be, how do I phrase this? Will this happen again the next time somebody wants to do something with this property, but we'll have it on record that this is the way we're handling it and the reasons why?
So this could potentially happen again if there's a title search for a property on Prospect Hill Drive and they want to like dot their i's and cross their t's as far as receiving.
If they have a good title attorney.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
That's what it comes down to.
But at the same time, I think it might be inappropriate for the commission to grant a complete certificate of compliance for these because you would be verifying that, yes, these orders of conditions were done correctly, which no one can say that. But again, you can say that there's a strong likelihood that this specific property had nothing to do with the orders of conditions presented.
All right.
This is bizarre at best, right?
Yeah, it's tricky.
But we're helping the potential resident
Right. Dennis,
Actually
what's your take?
do something.
This is heavy on you.
It's a tough one for sure, but like you say, when the people go to sell the property, whatever, it could detain them, as far as the clean titles.
Well, clean title's the name of the game.
Yeah.
Because liability, you assume liability if it's not a clean title.
I'm not aware of an alternative that the commission would explore. You know? Like if the commission denied the certificate of compliance, what do you do from there? If there's nothing,
We can't void it and say this no
Well,
longer applies?
we don't know if it was, in order to void it, you would say that the project was never done and it is expired, but you're also verifying that the project was never completed.
All right.
So again, it's like, we don't know if the project was completed or not either, because we don't know what the project was. there's no site plans, there's nothing. We dove into the archives, I believe, and dove through our files to see what was happening.
I don't see why we can't just issue the partial certificate.
Yeah,
I think that
it's
makes
a
more
little
sense.
confusing, but it seems like overall it's gonna be helpful.
Well, it's as clear as mud, but,
Yeah.
I mean, but what are we accomplishing by denying it?
Yeah.
I mean, we want somebody to be able to sell their property and have a clean title
Yeah.
at the end of the day, because they paid for it.
Exactly.
I tend to say, let's issue the partials and let people move on with life, instead of having paperwork track them down.
Yeah.
Because this could inhibit a sale.
Evan, do you want to go on the record?
Let's just do the partial certificate of compliance and move on. I don't think we're gonna get anywhere else.
Understand what he said.
No, I mean, I look at it from, are we assuming any liability? But, I mean, we're not assuming, we're saying we don't think it, in good faith, it doesn't affect it.
Yeah,
It's because essentially that's what we're doing.
yeah.
I mean, one's 50 years old.
Right, I mean, this didn't happen last week if you guys,
All right,
You know
so
my feeling.
with that, could I have a motion for a partial certificate of compliance for Daniel and Patricia Fleming, 140 Prospect Hill Drive, Assessors Map 52, Lot 36, DEP file number 305-335?
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Could I have a partial certificate, could I have a motion for a partial certificate of compliance for Daniel and Patricia Fleming, 140 Prospect Hill Drive, Assessors Map 52, Lot 36, DEP file number 305-163?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Could I have a motion for a partial certificate of compliance, Daniel and Patricia Fleming, 140 Prospect Hill Drive, Assessors Map 52, Lot 36, DEP file number P-305-2?
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And could I have a motion for a partial certificate of compliance, Daniel and Patricia Fleming, 140 Prospect Hill Drive, Assessors Map 52, Lot 36, DEP file number 305-291?
So moved.
I have a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right, can you get through this?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Agenda item O, Wetland Protection Funds, Sharapa Way. So tree fell down and it's on our land.
So yeah, tree fell down. It is under the management of the Conservation Commission according to the deed. So that's an update from the last meeting. The DPW is working on getting a quote. I think they provided a quote, and again, they provided a quote while I was out. I briefly looked at it. I can look at it further, but it was for $4,400, and that seems very high. And I think they might be trying to, or not the DPW, but I don't know who. Maybe the resident talked to with the contractor while he was there to cut down some other trees. But I think $4,400 for a single tree seems a bit much. But
Everything starts with a 3 in tree company world now.
oh really?
Yeah, if one tree is 3,000, 2 trees is 4,000.
So I guess how so it's under the Conservation Commission's management,
So,
and
Does the town have an agreement with a local
tree company.
tree company?
I don't believe there's a formal agreement involved. I think the DPW just contacts them on an as-needed basis. They might have their own relationship that has developed over time, but nothing like not a contractual agreement
Okay.
that I'm aware of. So how would the commission want to allocate funds from, I would assume, the Wetland Protection Fund? Like,
My only concern is we don't have an actual quote. We
Yeah.
just have a rough estimate.
but we could also grant them X amount of dollars in funds until you get the bids. You know what I mean?
And then it's an automatic approval.
And then it's
Right.
automatic approval, and whatever money is left over goes back into the conservation.
Yeah, so I think it's, like, I'm obviously not going to choose the highest bidder.
I would say start at $25 and see how we do, right?
I say go down the street, get some of them beavers in there and throw it in there.
So I guess it's up to the commission, but like, I can either come back and I can talk with DPW about what has been provided as far as the 4,400, seeing if we can get other numbers, and then coming back at the next Conservation Commission meeting for you guys to formally approve a specific amount, or approve a general amount, and
I say
then,
you approve the general amount so you can get something.
Get it done. I mean, I just say we request 3 quotes from reputable people, and
Sure.
and
Okay.
we approve the money and whatever comes back to us, and not spend hours debating it.
okay, so 3 quotes, take the lowest bidder, and then
And, right,
execute.
right.
Yeah, that's just
Or not
nice general.
necessarily take the lowest bidder, because you never know. The lowest
Lowest bidder.
A reputable bid, a reputable,
Reputable
right,
bid.
a reputable bid,
It's
right. It's just like,
Chapter 30B, it's just general procurement laws for towns.
Yeah.
Somebody who's-
3 bidders, lowest responsible bidder.
Yeah,
just like that.
responsible bidder, yeah.
Call it a
right,
day.
So-
right, I like the word
Responsible
responsible,
bidder, okay.
and a known quantity, I mean.
Correction.
Yeah, because I think in general, if this was to happen in a different way, I'd want to see the quotes, but this was brought to us as an emergency. So it's been a few weeks now, but I don't think we should wait longer than is absolutely needed.
Right, I say we approve $5,000 and let the chips fall where they may.
All right. All right,
Okay.
I have a motion to approve $5,000 out of the wetland protection funds for this purpose.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right.
So, agenda item P is the Central Massachusetts Mosquito Control Project for Roger Street. So this is just notification from CMMCP that that project will be commencing. I believe this was approved by the Conservation Commission and reviewed at a previous.
Yes, yes, I
So
remember this.
this is
Yep.
just notification that that work's going to be occurring, in case you guys had any comments.
No, this is the one that went under the street, right, yep.
And let me see. All right,
That's it?
I think so.
Old business, new business, administrators' reports. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well.